one. By the grace of Allah, our scholar, Shaykh Muzaffar Hyder, will be giving us a lecture at this time wherever you may be around the world. Yesterday, he spoke about the importance of our roles as children and also as parents on the topic of raising the next generation. Tonight's topic is music still an issue in 2020? And now, without any further ado, I would like to invite Brother Ifad to begin tonight's event with the Holy Quran. Inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المقربين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامرون يا حسرة على العباد ما يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر والليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم انفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا ونطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقناهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب وفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحيي الذي ينشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Jazakallah for that beautiful recitation of Surah Yasin, Brother Rafad. Now I would like to invite Brother Sayyid Iftikhar Ahmed to recite a salam. So, whenever he's ready. Bismillah.
सात सौ कुर्सी नशी है और भरा दरबार है तख्त के आगे खड़ा एक नातवा बीमार है पुश्त जख्मी है गला जख्मी है वेखार पाए करे सब्रो रजा है नूर का मीनार है यूं तो मूसा भी गए फिरौन के दरबार में सात माँ बहने न थियां इतरते अतहार है एक तरफ शहजादियां हैं यसरबो ईरान की एक रसन बारा गले हैं जिंदगी दुश्वार है सहमी सहमी है सकीना नील रुखसार है तश्त में बेचैन फरके सैयदे अबरार है यूं हुई सबसे मुखातिब एक बाइक बिनते अली है लबो लहजा अली का दिल नशी गुफ्तार है हम हैं आले मुस्तफा हम वारिसे कुरान है अदल की मीज़ान हम हैं क्या तुम्हें इनकार है सर बरहना लाए हो तुम नए नवा से शाम तक किसकी है नामूस जोरस वासरे बाजार है ज़िबह प्यासा कर दिया सिब्ते रसूल अल्लाह को ऐ मुसलमानों कहो तुम में कोई दीदार है, लाए हो कैदी बनाकर जिसको तुम दरबार में, ये इमाम वक्त है, ये दीन का सरदार है। मौत की सी खामोशी है, रो रहे हैं सब कमर, शर्म से गर्दन झुकाए हाकिमे गद्दार है। 700 कुर्सी नशी है और भरा दरबार है, तख्त के आगे खड़ा एक नातवा बीमार है।
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jazakallah for that beautiful salam, Brother Iftikhar. Um, Now, again, before I ask the Sheikh to begin the lecture, I would like to mention another reminder to all my younger brothers and sisters. I would like to motivate them to listen to the Sheikh more attentively. And this is something that I came across during the first 10 days of Muharram this year. And it's something to really think about very deeply because it's something I I've never looked at it this way before. And it was in a lecture, and the Sheikh basically said that he said that we curse all the cursed ones. We curse Yazid. We curse all the cursed ones in Ziyarat Ashura and during Muharram in general, right? And but then he said this is the point he made. He said we forget to check that do we have more in common with the army of Yazid that we curse or the companions of our Imam? And are we going to start cursing ourselves if we have more in common with the army of Yazid? And that really hit me deep, and I wanted to understand and know what that really meant. And if you think about it, it's like a mini test for ourselves on a daily basis. For example, now excluding namaz and fasting and all the wajib acts, because the army of Yazid did all those things too. And if you want to test yourself and check if you had a successful day or not, ask yourself who you resembled that day. Did your actions resemble the companions of our Imam or the army of Yazid? Um, and how many of us, including myself, say labbaik ya Hussein with my tongue? And something that we should all check is that does our mind say labbaik ya Hussein? Does my heart say labbaik ya Hussein? Do my intentions, do my arms, do my legs, does my body say labbaik ya Hussein? And we sometimes forget that there's a reason things are easier said than done. And what labbaik ya Hussein means is that I am here, O Hussein. And not just my tongue, but my whole body is here for you, Hussein. And inshallah, may Allah help us become as strong and truthful, just like the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And also another small thing, brothers and sisters, that tonight's topic is to do with music. And inshallah, the Shaykh might tell us something that we may use to help other brothers and sisters who still may be listening to music get over it and help them to stop. So inshallah, now without further ado, I would like to invite Shaykh Muzaffar Hyder to begin tonight's lecture. Shaykh, are you with us?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
If I could ask everybody to give Surah Fatiha for all of the marhumeen, all of the believers who have left this lowly dunya, and for Sayyid Baqir Musavi ibn Sayyid Razi Musavi, and for Abida Abid bint Ja'far Ali Khan. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. صدق الله العلي العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. The topic that we're discussing today is about music. Now, is music really still an issue in the year 2020? Really, today? It seems like, yes, it is. People are still confused despite the numerous discussions that we've had in the past and all the lectures that we've seen and all the information that is available out there. Despite all that, what's happening? Some people are changing that which is perfectly good. It's halal music, and they're taking it and they're saying this is haram. And then there's people who are taking that which is obviously and clearly haram and they're saying this is halal. This is the world that we're living in today. Incidentally, this is one of the signs of the end of times, where people will come and make that which is haram halal and that which is halal haram. Okay, so now what we're going to do today, inshallah, with the bi'idhnillah, with the permission of Allah, we are going to deconstruct this subject, and we're actually going to go through 5 points. There are 5 reasons why this subject has become something of a confusion for people. Okay, the first of those reasons is a language and historical context kind of barrier. Okay, the second thing is because we have not given due attention to the fatwas which exist. The third reason is because of the taghut. And the fourth reason is we just don't realize how much of a grave sin haram music actually is. And so we often overlook it. And the fifth and final thing is how people, despite all those things, justify that which is clearly and obviously haram. We're going to start by giving you a hadith. Okay, so the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said that Allah sent me as a mercy for the world, rahmatul lil alameen. And he says that one of the key objectives of his entire mission is to eradicate music. And he says specifically in this hadith to eradicate the flute and other musical instruments. Okay. You go to another hadith, it says a person invites divine wrath by giving ear to haram music. Okay. And there are many ahadith of this nature which indicate that music is truly haram, it is evil, it is despicable. The prophets and messengers came to get rid of it. There are hadiths that show us that the origin of music was the shaitan himself, and so on and so forth. You see, the issue here is an issue of language and a historical context. The first point that I want to make clear here is that music is not the same thing as ghina. Okay, so you have music on one side, you have ghina on the other side. They are two different things. Before we explain what ghina actually is, let's talk about music itself. What is music? Let's start off by defining what music actually is. Well, music actually has an Arabic equivalent. In Arabic, you would refer to it as musiqa. Both musiqa in Arabic and the English equivalent music most likely come from the Greek word musik. Okay? And what does this actually mean? I'm going to give you some definitions, okay? One of the definitions is it's vocal or instrumental sounds, which are put together in a beautiful way in order to invoke emotions. Okay. Another definition would be a pleasant sound, all right? It's simply a sound which you like to hear. That's why you hear people saying, this sound is music to my ears, because any sound which is pleasant, it's likened to music. I want to give you another definition. It's a beat, it's a rhythm, usually accompanied with the elevation of the voice and the voice going up and down, the tone, the rhythm going up and down of the voice. Okay, so if we think about these definitions, let's now go and look at some examples of music. And I want to demonstrate here just how wide the circle is and how many different types of music would actually fall under these definitions. The first one I'd like to discuss is nohas and latmiyas. Right, nohas and latmiyas are actually, by this definition, a form of music. Right? What are we doing? We are elevating our voices and we're bringing our voices right down, just like my daughter is right now. You can probably hear her in the other room. She's doing a wonderful job of it, right? That's what it is. Nohas and latmiyas are to bring up the voice and change the pitch and the tone. That's what it is. As well as that, you'll notice that it is accompanied by a beat. That's what we're doing, okay? When we are beating our chests, we're actually giving this thing a beat. Why? To invoke a certain emotion. It's totally music, guys. But would we, in our wildest dreams, think of saying that nohas or latmiyas are haram? Of course not. Similarly, nasheeds falls under music. And out of respect for the nohas and the latmiyas, we say recite, but actually with our voice, scientifically speaking, we're just doing the same thing. And yet it's not considered as haram. Adhan, think about the adhan. One of the beautiful hadith that we have is that the Holy Prophet used to say, "Oh Bilal, relieve me, relieve us," because hearing that adhan and being called towards the prayers was a relief for the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And inshallah, we can reach that stage as well, where we wait for the prayer time and we feel relieved. We feel like a big burden's come off our shoulders. But the point here is the adhan. What are we doing with our voices? Think about it. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It is totally music to our ears. Nursery rhymes. Let me give you an obvious example. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Is this haram? No. It's an educational tool that we often use with children. Okay. The Quran itself, and this is the most beautiful rhythm, the rhythm of the universe. When you're reciting the Quran and when you're listening to a reciter, you're actually tuning into the rhythm of the universe. And it has a beautiful rhythm to it, which can never be measured up to any song that exists. And the Quran itself testifies to this. It says, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Recite the Quran in slow, measured, rhythmic tones. And through this, Imam Ali alayhi salam explains that through this tartil, or what we refer to as tajweed, through this, it affects the soul, it affects the heart even more, okay? Some things which we would never even think of as music. For those of us who might be having trouble sleeping, here's a quick tip. There are apps that you can download and they let you hear a repetitive sound, right? I used to listen to the sound of a train, the very rhythmic booming of the train and the seemingly sporadic boom knocking noises helped me to sleep. Or the sound of a campfire crackling. Birds, the ocean, the sound of rivers and waterfalls, the wind in the trees, all of these things are a form of music. And this is how wide music can actually go. The circle encompassing what music actually encapsulates is huge. The Quran even says that Allah inspired to Dawood and he commanded, Ya Jibalu, awwibi ma'ahu wat-tayr. He commands the mountains and the birds to sing the praises along with Dawood. This is one of the great bounties and gifts which is bestowed upon Nabi Dawood and the Imam of the time, that even the wind, even the mountains, even the birds are obedient to the wali. Subhanallah. But here we see that even the natural phenomenon of the earth recite, they beautify Allah, they sing. Okay, so music is very wide, and to say that all music is haram as a pretext is completely false. It does not make sense to say that all music is haram. Unfortunately, this sentiment does exist in the community, and before we proceed any further, we have to make it absolutely clear that there is halal music. In fact, most music is halal. Now let's come on to ghina. Ghina is that which is problematic. Ghina is a type of music which is very specific, and this specific type of music is absolutely haram. Okay, now before we enter into, so we've talked about the language and the historical context. We're now going to go to the fatwas. We're going to talk about how the fatwas have been overlooked by us, how we haven't actually given them the attention which was due to those fatwas. Before we get to that though, I'd like to point out a very basic principle when we learn Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh or ahkam. One of the very basic principles that we learn is that every action that a person could possibly ever do is halal until it is proven with certainty to be haram. Okay? In other words, every action in Islam is innocent until it is proven to be guilty. Now, how do we prove things to be guilty? We are not akhbaris. Dear brothers and sisters, respected elders, when we go to a hadith and we see a hadith and we say, I'm going to draw a conclusion because of this. This is very simple and almost, it's actually quite silly. This is a silly approach. Okay. So going back to the hadith that I mentioned at the beginning, where the Holy Prophet, for example, he says that I came to eradicate the flute. A person might pick this hadith up and say, the flute is completely haram. I'm not going to do it. There's another hadith, would you believe, where Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, it is translated like this, that he says the violin, one who plays the violin or listens to the violin, he will be invoking the wrath of Allah or something along those lines. But dear brothers and sisters, the violin as we know it today wasn't invented until the 16th century. So how can we possibly say that this violin that we have today is the same thing that Imam Sadiq was referring to? Okay, who is it that who can understand the language and who can understand this historical context in order to deliver us what is right and what is wrong? It is none other than the marjas. Okay, this is the task and the duty of the marjas. They have spent decades of their lives in order to understand the fine print, so to speak. Okay, and Islam is a religion of following the experts in any given field. Even a great marja like Imam Khomeini, even he would do taqleed of the doctor. And he said, I do taqleed of the doctor. Why? Because even though Imam Khomeini knew about Islamic jurisprudence and he was the master of Islamic jurisprudence and fiqh, he was an expert in ahkam, he was not an expert in medical science. And so he did taqleed of the one who was an expert. Same with Imam Khamenei today. He says that harche sitade milliya corona migan man hamu mikuna. Everything that the national kind of body or for corona says, whatever they say, I am going to follow that. Okay, Islam it's a very common sense and logical principle of Islam here, that we should follow what the experts say. Now, what do these experts say in regards to music? I'm going to have to take you back in time now in order to understand what this term ghina actually means. Okay, so I'm going to take you back in time. Try to imagine this. Try to put yourself into this picture. Imagine that in the streets of Kufa and Medina and Mecca and all these places pre-Islam, in the Jahiliyyah era, you would go to certain locations, okay? It would be a dodgy location. You would go inside. It would be dark, atmospheric. Maybe they would have lighted candles with different colors. There would be smoke in that room. In that room, you would find dancing women who are scantily clad. Okay, there would be men sitting around. They'd be smoking some sort of drug, and they'd be exchanging alcohol with each other, and they would be talking about all sorts of disgusting things and vain discourse, which we're going to mention later on as well. Okay, in this kind of a setting, they would pay for certain people to come with musical instruments and to play music to entertain this audience. Okay, this was ghina, and this was pretty much the only form of music which existed in those times in the land of the Arabs. Okay, that was pretty much it. So when anybody was referring to music, it was referring to precisely this kind of music. Now let's go to the fatwa, or the fatwas. You see, the marjas tell us something quite, on first glance, it will seem very vague, but it's actually not. It's very specific. It is the key that will help us to determine what is haram and what is halal when it comes to music. Okay, what do they tell us? They tell us that that music which is suitable for entertainment and amusement gatherings, that music is haram. That music is ghina. Okay, so this is the fatwa that they have given us. Some people have taken the opportunity to say, well, this doesn't specify, this isn't clear enough, doesn't make it clear, and so they've used it to justify listening to haram music, or they've just gotten confused genuinely because they want to follow what the marjas say, but they're just confused. Okay, but I want to demonstrate now that this clause which they have given, and there are many other things that the marjas have said. Imam Khamenei, for instance, there's a whole book which, inshallah, may Allah give us the tawfiq to read it. It's about that thick, and he does dars kharij, and which is the classes which are delivered at the mujtahid level, and it's all about music and the different forms of music, the music that existed in the times of Jahiliyyah, the types of music that exist, and it goes on and on. Right? It's in great detail. But for now, let's just focus on this clause, that music which is suitable for entertainment and amusement gatherings. Now, first of all, the wording might confuse us. Remember, it's language which can sometimes cause a barrier for us. Entertainment. The moment somebody says entertainment, what do we think of? We think of the cinema, right? Somebody might think of the cinema. I get entertained in the cinema. Therefore, every music which is played in the cinema is haram. No, that's not what it's talking about. That's not what it means. Amusement gatherings. I mean, people could think of a million different things. I go to a place for amusement. I go to a hotel for amusement. That's not what they are referring to, okay? It is something very specific. Go back to the times of the age of Jahiliyyah and that kind of environment, okay? That is what they're referring to, a haram type of gathering. Do we have an equivalent of that in today's world? Yes, we do. Okay, we have clubs, okay, dances, concerts, raves. You can't go to a rave without rave music, discos, and sometimes it's environments which might be used for other purposes, not necessarily those kinds of gatherings, but some days, on some occasions, they are changed into that kind of an environment. For example, prom night, right? Prom night, it becomes a place of entertainment and amusement gatherings, right? Parties, Christmas parties. Gone are the days where Christmas was about Jesus. Let's face it, if you're going to a Christmas party in today's age, it's got nothing to do with Jesus, okay? Christmas party and, December's coming up, right? We know what that's referring to, what kind of environment it's going to be. Bars, right? We're talking about environments where there is alcohol, there is illicit behavior, where there is, flirting taking place, where all sorts of people are going up to the bedrooms upstairs to smoke weed and things like that, okay? Go back to it, entertainment and amusement gatherings. If you go to the Farsi or the Arabic, they describe it as Aish wa Noosh, a place for Aish and Noosh. For the Urdu-speaking crowd, they all make sense. Ish, the place where you're going for ish, right? That is the criteria, okay? If it is suitable for such a gathering, then it's haram. And if it's not suitable for such a gathering, it's halal. It is really crystal clear if we think about it. And if people are still confused, I'd like to introduce you to something. It is what I refer to as the party test. All right, it's the party test because haram music is that which is suitable for the party. That's what they mean by amusement and entertainment gatherings. It's the party, not even a party, party. Yeah. Okay. So let's put things through this filter, the party test. Imagine you're in that environment. God forbid you should ever end up in such an environment, but imagine that you are. Okay. There's people sitting around on couches, they're listening to this loud, thumping, booming music. All right. They're all drinking alcohol. They're laughing. They're flirting. They're talking about trash. Some people are going upstairs. Some people are vomiting on the porch. That it's like a house party, right? That kind of environment. Now, think of a particular example of a music, any music, okay? And you're trying to figure out, is this music halal or haram? Is it halal or haram? Think of that music, okay? Now, try to play that music in that environment. If people are happy, they're like, wow, that's cool music, and they get more excited, they get happier. If one guy shouts out, hey, that's my tune, baby. Yeah. If they're getting more riled up and they indulge more in that kind of a behavior, then it's haram because it's suitable for that kind of gathering. But if you play music in that gathering, you suddenly change the music and it makes people frown. It makes people just look around like, what the heck is this? Why are they playing this? If it makes people change and just like cut out of that stupor, they suddenly stop being those, drunkard zombies, and they start to think that music is not suitable for that place. It is halal. I want to give you some examples, okay? Think about the examples that we've mentioned. Imagine just for a moment, if you started to play a nursery rhyme in that kind of environment. What's going on? A, B, C, D, twinkle, twinkle. Everybody's just going, what is going on? We're not 5 years old. Turn that off, right? Halal. Imagine playing a noha or a latmiya or a nasheed in that kind of environment. Suddenly nobody wants to commit sins anymore. They want to just look around like, why is this happening? What am I doing with my life? I need to go sort my life out, dude. Right? That's the effect it's going to have on. Imagine if you tried to play revolutionary music, which is telling people to, rise up and, take control and, fight the oppressors and, come on, in that kind of an environment, they're suddenly going to be like, no, this is going to, you're killing the mood. You will hear this phrase, this is killing the mood. Halal music kills the mood. And this is what the party test is, okay? And we're going to revisit this. Now, at this point, it should have become relatively crystal clear what is halal and what is haram. Some people may still have questions, but inshallah, they're going to be answered. But before we move on to the third thing, I want to point something out. People come forward with 1,001 questions, 1,000,000 questions, and they bring specific examples. Is the Power Rangers theme song halal or haram? Can I listen to the background music from Kung Fu Panda? Is this haram? Is this halal? They will bring 1,000,000 different specific examples. They'll bring you instruments, right? Is the flute halal or haram? What about the violin? What about the drums? What about the piano? What about the banjo? What about this? What about the harmonica? That is not. What about the qawwali? See, somebody just did it. I want to say, please do not do this, okay? Because this will take forever and it will just go on and on and on, okay? This is not the way it works. Whatever question you might have, put it through the parte test. Whatever, if the instrument being used is not the criteria to determine whether it's halal or haram, okay? So a flute, for example, can be used for haram or can be used for halal. A drum, it can be used for haram and it can be used for halal, and so on and so forth. Right? Similarly, people will come forward with the genres, because there's lots of different genres of music. They'll come forward and they'll say, rap is, what about rap? What about classical? What about rock? What about soft rock? What about hard rock? What about this rock? What about pop? Right? The genre, again, is not the criteria. Right? Rap, once upon a time, it was the poetry of the streets. It was used to wake people up. It was used to give Black people in America a sense of empowerment. Okay, it's been adulterated and completely abused now. It's become something completely different, which we're going to discuss, inshallah. But rap can be used for both good and evil. It can be used for halal and haram. Same with classical, same with rock, and etc. Okay, remember, dear brothers and sisters, respected elders, none of these things are the criteria. Take it back to the parte test. Okay, see if it is suitable for an entertainment and amusement gathering, if it is or if it isn't. Okay, now let's move on to the third thing. One of the other reasons why this may still be confusing for people is because of the taghut. Okay, what does the Quran tell us? It says, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى. Right? It says the right way has become very clear and distinct from error. Okay, it's very clear. Right and wrong is as clear as night and day. But then it says, right after it says, so as for one who rejects the taghut and believes in Allah, he has grasped a very firm hold of the rope which will never break off. Okay, one of the prerequisites, in other words, to understand and to recognize haqq from batil is to reject the taghut. Why am I mentioning this here? It's because people always think that this is only to do with political affairs. No, it even affects our spiritual growth and our ability to differentiate between right and wrong when it comes to, for example, music, right? Ghina music, ghina specifically, the haram type, is addictive. It's like a drug. And I can totally understand, dear brothers and sisters, how difficult it is when you're hooked on something, okay? The ghina is like a drug. You keep on wanting to go back. You need a hit. And when you don't hear it for a while, your feelings and your emotions just drop. This is addiction. This is the exact same effect that hardcore drugs have on you, okay? Like cocaine have on you, all right? It's addiction. And the taghut, the powers that be, want to keep you addicted, right? That's why they flood the communities with alcohol and drugs and other addictive things like sugar. That's why they do it, because a population of people who are addicted, who are hooked, a population of consumers is far easier to control. And this has been the historical premise since the time of Fir'aun and Nimrud up until the time of Yazid. Why do you think he was pushing for music, and why the ulama always tell us that, he used to listen to haram music and have dancing girls around him and stuff? This is something that taghut does. It helps to control the population. As long as you are hooked on the drug of haram music, of ghina, you will never wake up. The Matrix wants you to stay plugged in. It wants to keep you imprisoned. As we said, haram music, ghina, is very obvious. And it's so obvious. I want to point this out, dear brothers and sisters. The moment you hear it, it's so obvious that it's haram. It is so obvious. If it is not obvious that it's haram, it's because we are still attached to the Taghut. Remember, the Taghut has promoted these kinds of artists. And I want to mention some of them right now. Think about what this is doing, okay? Jay-Z, Rihanna, Eminem, Justin Bieber, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Madonna, Black Eyed Peas, Nicki Minaj, Drake, Justin Timberlake, Kanye West, and all similar musicians who are at the same league as these people, okay? It's a shame, astaghfirullah, I have to ask forgiveness from Allah and from the community that I mention such names from the minbar. But that's what our community has become. And this is something that we need to highlight. If we don't recognize the direction in which society is going, we won't be able to fight against it. We won't be able to resist against it, okay? 90% of that which the Taghut is promoting is ghina. It is, like all of it mostly is haram. Most of it, okay? Look at this list of artists. All of them, and this is not a conspiracy, but back in the days, people might have been able to say, this is a conspiracy theory. No, it's not. Look how obvious it has become with people like Kanye West standing in the presidential suite with Trump. What is that showing you? People like Madonna have famously, they're on record saying that they feel like they connect to something which predates religion and refer to the Kabbalah. They're Kabbalists. They are Zionists through and through. Okay? You cannot be successful in the music industry of America and Britain unless and until you have been handpicked. Who is handpicking these musicians? Because, dear brothers and sisters, trust me on this. There is so much more talent that exists out there. There's way better singers out there than these haram people, than these people who are singing this haram stuff. But they're not being given a chance in the music industry. Why have these people become top celebrities and are being promoted by the Taghut? It's because they have certain qualities. They are being used by the system. And if you are listening to their music, then you're falling for the trap, just like the masses are. Dear brothers and sisters, respected elders, remember this. It is one of the signs of the end times. Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam has stipulated that one of the signs is that the singers' voices will go very high and they will gather huge audiences. It's unprecedented. You go to a concert, you go to a bar, you go to a disco, you go to these huge mass festivals and gatherings that these such artists are gathering. It's unprecedented. Go back to the 70s, go back to the 50s, 40s. This kind of thing didn't exist. Okay, it exists today though, and it's getting worse. Okay, one of the signs, and I want to say this before we move on, is that even in Mecca and Medina, ghina will be heard. The Quran tells us, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَحْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And among men is he who buys idle discourse in order to misguide people from the path of Allah. Idle discourse, lahwa al-hadith. The Quran also uses this word lahu in another place. إِنَّمَا الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ. He says, surely the life of this dunya, the lowly life of this world, is la'ibun and lahu. It is a sport and a play. It's vain discourse. It means nothing. Now, when you translate it, it sounds really weird. Vain discourse, idle talk. What does that mean? Dear brothers and sisters, respected elders, go to these kinds of musicians. Get rid of the music. Don't listen to it. Just read the lyrics. What will you find? Yeah. Listen, oh, boom, look at my car, look at my flight, I got a wallet full of money. This, I've got, look at my house, look how much money I've got. I've acquired so much status. Look at my material possessions. Look at this, look at that. Oh, I like this part of the body. I like women. I like, It is all about alcohol. It is all just about drugs. It's all about violence. It's all about illicit behavior. Pretty much all of it. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. This is what it is, okay? This is the idle, the vain discourse that we're talking about, okay? Go look at that. And this is the reality, okay? Ghina always leads towards lahu, absolute trash talk. That's what it is. Okay, so this is one of the things that the Taghut does. Recognizing the Taghut will help us to recognize what is being promoted, what is haram, and what is halal. Now, another reason why it may be a blurred thing, why we still get confused, because we just don't realize how much of a grave sin haram music actually is. It just doesn't hit us. We don't realize just how evil this sin is. Music, ghina, is such a sin. It's a sin on its own, but it's such a sin that it actually leads to other sins, other great sins, and the decay, the moral decay of society. And we're going to talk about that now, okay? So the fourth point is about this, the idea that it is a grave sin. Do you really think that giving ear to this music is a small thing that we can take lightly? Is that really what you thought? The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us that those who listen to ghina on the day of judgment, they will have molten lead poured into their ears. And for the younger audience, I want to elaborate what this actually means. Lead is a type of metal. Dear brothers and sisters, it's a type of metal. When you heat it to the point where it's so hot that even if you touch it, your finger will get burnt, it gets red. You heat it even more, it can't take the pressure, it melts. At this point, it is so hot that if you poured it onto wood, it would make a hole through the wood. It would burn straight through. The Holy Prophet is teaching us that those who listen to ghina, haram music, on the day of judgment, this molten lead will be poured into their ears. Subhanallah. It is us who have taken this sin as light. We think it's nothing. We've been raised to do it. Our parents did it. Their parents did it before them. And so we've continued to do it and we don't think it's that bad. It is a terrible sin. It is completely despicable. And it's not only leading to this absolute torture and pain. We're doing it to ourselves, dear brothers and sisters. It's not only leading to that, but it's also decaying the way we think. It's decaying our very spirituality. I want us to zoom out for a moment. Let's look at society. What has society become? You look everywhere, you see premarital relations, completely normal. Premarital relations, completely normal. You go back 50 years, that wasn't the case. People used to get married. They used to respect the institution of marriage. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that marriage is part of my institution. Whoever adopts it is part of me. Marriage is so sacred, in fact, that even if you get married as a Christian and then you convert to Islam, that marriage that you did is still valid. In fact, in pretty much any religion, when you get married by the laws of that religion, Islam accepts it as a valid religion, as a valid marriage, okay? Look what marriage has become in today's society. Nobody gets married. Everybody's having premarital relationships with each other. Illicit content, which is available online. There was a time where people might watch such content, but then they'd feel embarrassed. They'd go and repent. They would never share in their wildest dreams with anybody else. But today the society has become such that people watch it together. Okay, I remember watching an episode of Friends, which is probably the most popular American sitcom. In there was an episode where two of the main characters, Joey and Chandler, are watching illicit content, explicit content together. And they're joking about it. They're laughing about it. The audience laughs at it too. Okay. What has become of society? What has happened to our shame? Back in school, I remember some of the boys used to watch it together. What's happened? Women and men have become completely shameless. You go just 100 years back, dear brothers and sisters, you'll notice that people were wearing hijab. In England, in Manchester, there's video evidence of it. Christian women, they were all, every woman in the streets is wearing hijab. Today, it's strange to even, women don't even think about why do I need to cover? They can't even think to themselves why it makes sense to wear more clothes and to cover. Women don't want to. What's happened? Something's happened, right? Fathers and husbands have become completely okay with their daughters and with their wives going out in public when they know that they're wearing tight clothes, for instance, or they're not observing hijab. Other men are going to be gawping at them. What's happened to society? And I don't need to elaborate much more, but I want to give you one more example. India, oh my God, the amount of people, women who are assaulted in India, it's not safe for women to go out in the streets. Just recently, something happened which I don't want to mention, but those of you who know what happened, it's so distressing. An 86-year-old woman was attacked and abused. She's not just a grandmother, she's a great-grandmother. What's happening in society? Shame has left. It's like shame just said, bye-bye, bye-bye, I'm leaving, I'm out of here. And humans have been left to live like animals. What's happened? In the last 100 years, you'll notice music has become so prevalent. And one of the effects of music is precisely this. It removes this sense of shame from people, this sense of chastity, this sense of dignity. Imam Sadiq says that when music is played, eventually, and it creeps up on you. He says, you play it repetitively, eventually the shaitan comes and whispers into a person's ear, into a man's ear. After this, he will become so shameless that even if his women are dishonored, he won't have a care in the world. This is one of the effects of music. Now go to societies, whether it's India or the West or whichever society you want to analyze, look at the last 50 years. Look at how society has transgressed and become completely shameless. You'll notice that there is a factor that is common in all of these places. This ghina has become widespread and completely the norm and acceptable. You can't escape it. You walk into a shop, you go to a mall, you go to get a haircut, you're going to go your groceries, you go to get to sit in a taxi, you're sitting in a train, you can hear somebody's ringtone, an elevator, movies, you're watching a movie with the family, they start to play haram music. There is no escaping it. The system, the Taghut has ensured that ghina becomes so widespread that it just becomes the norm. This again is one of the signs of the zuhur of Imam Zaman, that the world will become like this. It will be just completely acceptable. Okay. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, angels do not enter that house where ghina is played, where haram music is played. Prayers of a house become unacceptable when ghina is played in that house. Dear brothers and sisters, respected elders, do not even for a moment give ear to this haram music. I know it's difficult. I know it might be hard, but this is destroying us as individuals, as families, and as societies. It is destroying us, and we won't realize it until it's too late. Now let's move on to the fifth thing. Despite all of these things that we have discussed, people justify it. How do they justify it? How? How do they actually justify it? I want to give you 3 ways in which they justify haram music. The first way is they say, well, yes, this music might be haram for you, but when I listen to it, I think of Allah. I actually heard this example for the first time from somebody older in the community. One of the older aunties, she said to me, I listen, because she used to listen to this old, Bollywood love songs and stuff. I said, this is haram. She goes, no, I think of Allah when I listen to it. It's cool for me. I didn't say this answer, but in hindsight, I wish I had told her this. Really? I drink alcohol and I think about Allah. I get drunk off my head and I think about Allah. I do drugs and I think about Allah. I get high and think about Allah. Right? Haram is haram. You can't make it halal just because you have a slightly different perspective. That's not the way it works. Okay? And this is actually a form of hypocrisy One of the other, we talked about shamelessness. One of the other side effects of haram music is it breeds hypocrisy in the heart. Imam Sadiq says, music grows hypocrisy in the heart, just like water grows hypocrisy, it grows algae, on a surface. So if you notice, the way that water keeps dropping onto a surface and eventually algae grows on it, that murky, green, nasty stuff, music has the same gradual effect on our souls. Eventually, we become complete hypocrites. We start justifying that which is haram, even though it's completely unacceptable, right? So this is one thing that they say. We have to note here, dear brothers and sisters, it is not a personal thing, okay? The marjas, go back to the fatwa, go back to the part A test again, okay? The fatwa, what does it say? It doesn't say that which you think, you would like to listen to in a party, in an entertainment or amusement gathering. No, it says that which is considered to be, or that which is suitable, in the eyes of the urf, in the eyes of generally speaking. If people associate that music with a club, with a disco, with a concert, right, with a nightclub, that music is haram. Okay, you don't get to say, oh, I'm listening to Kanye West, but I'm thinking about Allah, therefore it's halal. No. You've just justified something which is haram because that type of music is suitable for a haram gathering. Okay, clear. Now, a second excuse that people make, or a justification that people have, is I'm not attending the entertainment or amusement gathering. I'm not going to the party. I'm not going to the disco. Sometimes we don't stumble across music, haram music. Sometimes ghina or haram music stumbles across us. Okay, and I want to point out here, whether we stumble across it or it stumbles across us, it is our duty to refrain from it. Okay, sometimes we'll be walking in the shops or we'll be watching a movie and they suddenly start to play this haram music. You're going in the shop, you can hear this haram music. What are you supposed to do? And so, you hum along, you say the lyrics along with it. Don't do that. You've just been a part of it now. You've just endorsed it. Especially if your youths now hear it, they're going to take your example and think that's okay as well. Okay. Imam Sadiq, I want to give you a hadith now. There was this guy, okay, one of the companions. He said to the Imam, Ya Imam, when I go to the toilet, sometimes toilets were different back then, okay, guys? You used to go out, and find the place where you go to the toilet. Whenever I go to the toilet, I can hear the singing girls. I can hear them. Sometimes I linger a little bit longer just so I can hear it a little bit more. I haven't done anything haram, right? I mean, I didn't actually go to the gathering itself. I just overheard it. The Imam says, he reminds him of a verse of the Quran. He says, Inna as-sam'a wal-basara wal-fu'ada kullu ulaika kana anhu mas'ula. He says, surely the hearing and the sight and the heart, all of these shall be questioned. Right? You've done a sin. The man repents and he says, I didn't know about this verse, and you're right, I shouldn't have listened to it. Allah was, not pleased with that action, and yet I did it. And so he repents. Imam doesn't leave it there. He says, that's not enough. Go and do ghusl. Take ghusl and then recite salah. This is a huge sin that you've committed. Go and repent for it. We need to start taking these things very seriously. Now, another thing, Disney music, right? Some of the ways that we justify haram music is through this, okay? There are certain songs, or Bollywood songs, right? Let's face it, guys, most Bollywood songs are the spawn of the devil himself, right? But we justify it. How can we justify it? Because it's not played in haram gatherings, It's not. One of my favorite films, by the way, is Lagan. It has to be one of my favorite films. Indian movies. One of my favorite Indian movies is Lagan because it has this theme of rising up against the British Empire. How can I not love it, right? And one of the songs in there it has this revolutionary theme. It's about, let's get together, let's rise up. This land belongs to us. It has that, Okay, but you can't say that all the songs in Lagan are halal, right? Because if you are in doubt whether a certain song is halal or haram, go and look at the music videos, right? Look at the video which is accompanying that music. If you see a dancing woman, ta-da, there you go, there's your sign, it's haram. Usually haram music, and this is why I say, I don't know why people get confused. It is glaringly obvious when something is haram, okay? Now, one of the things that they say is, well, for example, Disney music, you can't be listening to Let It Go, you know, the famous Frozen song. I don't know why it got so popular, but it's clearly haram. Now, again, people might justify such things, you know, but they'll say, oh, well, Chaya isn't haram. Yeah, how can that be haram? And they'll justify all these things to such an extent that they will actually start to play them in weddings. That's the state that we've gotten to now. The most sacred of events that could take place in the religion of Islam. And what have we done? We've adulterated it. We've completely destroyed the sanctity of marriage, and we've introduced haram music here at the beginning of the first steps of a husband and wife, a newlywed couple. How shameful is that? And one of the ways that we do this is we say, well, it wasn't originally played in an entertainment gathering. Again, take those examples, put it through the party test. There are certain songs which might not be usually played in such gatherings, but if they are played in those gatherings, people will generally be like, ha ha ha, oh wow, you know, they'll still listen to it. That's my tune. Oh, I love this song. It might alter the mood a little bit, but it will still be that kind of haram gathering. If they're not dancing to a fast rhythm, suddenly it will become a slow song, like the Aladdin songs, right? I don't want to mention the specific example, but you know, the haram examples in there, it's obviously haram, dear brothers and sisters. Do not justify them. Take it back to what the fatwa has said. Take it back to the party test. And if you're so much in doubt, then we really need to think about why we're doubting, because it is clear, right? The third justification that people do, and this is the scariest one of all, fake fatwas. Fake fatwas. People are coming out of nowhere with fatwas from marjas, and they're saying the marja has allowed it. For instance, the haram music, this ghina, in this location, I'm allowed to listen to it. We're allowed to listen to it. The Quran has warned us about such people. Dear brothers and sisters, the Quran has warned us. It says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُجَادِلُ فِي اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَلَا هُدًى وَلَا كِتَابٍ مُنِيرٍ. It says, and among men is he who argues in the affairs of Allah without knowledge, without guidance, and without a book of light. If somebody comes with such a fatwa, ask them to show it to you, okay? Because it does not exist. And if they do show it to you, go and check out who you're referring to as a marja, because that doesn't make sense. That which is haram, okay? Now, I can't leave you without solutions, right? So I want to quickly throw some solutions at you. Listen to halal music. We've given some examples at the beginning. Listen to this halal music, whether you're in the shops or malls or taking your haircut or groceries or taxis, ringtones or elevators, whatever you want to avoid whenever you're in public and you want to not listen to that haram music, have your own halal music in your ears to block out that haram. Okay, introduce yourself to Farsi and Urdu and Arabic nasheeds and nohas and latmiyas, because these will have a positive effect on your soul and they'll help you to better understand the realities. Okay, and the best advice that I can give you now is the Quran. Get connected to this rhythm of the universe. Once you start, choose a reciter that you like to listen to. Some of them, I don't personally like some of them. You know, it does come down to your personal preference when it comes to which reciters you like. Listen to some of them, because some of them do a beautiful job, right? As the brother recited at the beginning, you know, he's listening to some reciters who he feels attracted to, and he can use that to build upon. We can also do that. The Quran is the best of sounds, dear brothers and sisters, respected elders. It is the Music, so to speak, which has been inspired by Allah, composed by Angel Jibreel, and recited by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And that concludes pretty much all the points that I wanted to make on the subject. I really do pray, inshallah, that Allah makes it crystal clear for us that there should remain no more confusions for us. Ya Allah, please help everybody to understand, inshallah, what is haram and what is halal. And dear brothers and sisters, I want to leave you this one hadith on this subject, okay? Imam Rida alayhi salam. I know it's difficult. I know it's very difficult to get rid of those addictions, to get rid of those haram attachments that we have. But we are doing detriment and harm to ourselves, dear brothers and sisters and respected elders. Imam Rida alayhi salam teaches us that one who refrains from listening to ghina, in heaven, in paradise, there will be a beautiful tree. Allah will cause the wind to blow through the leaves in such a manner that it will create such a beautiful sound, the likes of which none have ever heard before. Dear brothers and sisters, respected elders, strive to hear that divine sound because it wipes the floor with all of this trash. Ghina is trash. Put it aside. You have the power to do it. You can do it, inshallah. Today, I want to talk about a personality which has a huge impact on me personally. One of the reasons for that is because when I was young, I was a problem child. Those who know me, who know me, knew me in my youth. Well, when I was younger, I'm still a youth. Who knew me when I was younger, they know I used to get into trouble a lot. I did a lot of things that I regretted. But when I was around 19 years old, I made a change in my life. I said, Ya Allah, today I want to absolutely submit to you and I will do whatever Islam wants of me. I won't do anything else other than that. I've never regretted that decision. But the point is, on the day, dear brothers and sisters, and I know that it was a genuine change. It wasn't just, sometimes we have this flippant idea and then we bounce back. It wasn't a bounce back. No, it was a genuine change that alhamdulillah, Allah gave me the inspiration to make upon myself. And I know that the youths out there have the ability to do this as well. The day that I made that change, my father came to me and said, oh, my son, do you want to go to Syria? Do you want to go and visit Sayyida Zainab? Okay. I had never been on ziyarah before. I didn't know what ziyarah was, all right? And then suddenly, on the day that I had this change, suddenly Allah was inviting me. The reason this had a huge impact is because they say that when the Ahlul Bayt, when you go to visit a member of the Ahlul Bayt, it is they themselves who have invited you. If you go to visit Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he has invited you. If you go to visit Hazrat Abbas, it is Hazrat Abbas who has invited you. If you go to visit Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi in Medina, it is he who has invited you. Now my question is, if we have deafened ourselves with haram music, how, dear brothers and sisters, respected elders, are we going to hear that invitation of the Imam of our time and of the Ahlul Bayt who are crying out to us to come, to join them and to join the cause? Today, we discuss a person who Imam Khamenei, in his book, The Visto Panjasal, the man of 250 years, describes as the one who saved Islam. The woman who saved Islam. That's right, Islam survives today because of a woman, and that woman is Sayyida Zainab. Salamullah alayha. And today I want to take us back to Karbala so that we remember this great and unparalleled personality. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Who is this Zainab? Many will ask, who is this Zainab? Let me introduce you once again to Sayyida Zainab. This is a lady who gave two of her sons in the path of Rasulullah in Karbala. Two of her beautiful sons, own Muhammad. And yet, Zainab had such love for her brother Hussein. She had such unparalleled love for her brother Hussein, that so much love that we never ever hear her even mention her sons. Every word that comes out of Zainab's mouth is for Hussein and the cause of Hussein and the father of Hussein and the grandfather of Hussein. Who is Zainab? When her grandfather Muhammad left this world, Zainab was witness to this. Then when her mother Fatima was killed, Zainab was witness to this. And when her father Ali took Fatima to Zahra to bury her, and while he was burying her, he looks to the heavens and lets out a scream, a cry towards the heavens. When he was asked, Ya Ali, why did you let out this cry? He says, because I discovered that the ribs of Fatima were broken. Zainab is the one who is the unspoken personality who witnessed these things. And then she was there when her father Ali was slain by the enemies, when he was in his deathbed, up until his last moments, this brave father of Zainab, Ali said, tell the daughters to go inside. For I do not want anybody who is no mahram to hear their cries. This is the khahish, this is the desire of Imam Ali, this is the ghira of Imam Ali, and this is how he cared for this precious daughter of his. Zainab is the one who was there when Hassan, when his funeral procession was struck with arrows. Zainab is the one who witnessed all of these tragedies. And now she has even been deprived of her love, Hussein, the last of her family members, the last of the five. Then she goes out in Karbala when Hussein's body was lying there, and she cries out for everyone to hear. When the enemies have burned the tents, she cries out, I wish that the skies had collapsed and the mountains had crumbled. This is Hussein lying slain under the open sky. اليوم مات جدي رسول الله. She says, this day my grandfather Rasulullah has been slain. They say that everyone who was present and heard Sayyidah Fatima utter these words, foes and friends began to weep. This is Zainab. Yes, this is Zainab. I know that you're tired, but let me just say these final words about Zainab, because truly she is an unprecedented personality and we can never do her justice. When Yazid is sitting in his court and the head of Hussein is brought before Yazid, and he starts to poke the blessed head of Hussein with a stick. Look at the courage of Sayyidah Zainab. When Yazid mocks Zainab, he mocks Imam Zain al-Abidin, he mocks the Ahlul Bayt by striking the head, and he says, are you pleased with what your God did with Hussein? Trying to confuse the people, trying to confuse the matter. It was Zainab who cried out, I saw nothing but beauty. ما رأيت إلا جميلا. ما رأيت إلا جميلا. ما رأيت إلا جميلا. Oh Zainab, how did you find this faith? She responds, from my grandfather Muhammad. Oh Zainab, how did you find this wisdom? She responds, from my mother Fatima al-Zahra. Oh Zainab, how did you find this courage? She responds, from my father Ali. Oh Zainab, how did you find this strength? She responds, from my brother Hassan. But oh Zainab, where did you find this patience? She responds, from Hussein. From Hussein, who reconciled and said, oh Zainab, before he was slain, he said, oh Zainab, I am going to be slain. I am going to leave this lowly dunya. My suffering is going to end. But you are going to have to be patient. But the burdens are going to fall on your shoulders. Now, dear brothers and sisters, O mourners of Hussein, think about the loneliness of this lady in Kufa. All of the burdens have now fallen upon her shoulders. She is taking care of the heartbroken mothers. She is taking care of Rabab. She is taking care of all those who have lost their loved ones in Karbala, whose children have been snatched away, who have been looted. She is taking care of Sakina. She is taking care of the children. And in this state, it is in this state, O mourners of Hussein, that she turns to the people of Kufa and she says to them, praises are for Allah. She sends blessings upon Muhammad al-Mustafa and his progeny. And she says, truly evil is that which your souls have committed. You have reaped the wrath of Allah. Do you really cry and sob? By Allah, you should then cry a great deal and laugh very little, for you have earned nothing but shame, and you shall never wash it away. Hussein, the descendant of the bearer of the last message, the very essence of the message, the source of your security and your beacon of guidance, your savior from calamities has been slain. The one who is Sayyid al-Shabab, Ahl al-Jannah has been slain. How terrible is the sin that you bear. Woe unto you, O Kufans! Do you know whose heart you have broken? Do you know whose heart you have burned? Whose blood you have shed? Whose sanctity you have violated? Do you wonder why the sky rains blood? Because of your monstrous deed, the heavens are about to split asunder. The earth may crack. The mountains may crumble. Existence may collapse. This is Sayyida Zainab. And these are some of the words that she expressed to the people of Kufa in front of those betrayers. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Sorry, very quickly, I'm very sorry for taking so much time. I've just been asked by the host, she sent me a message asking me if I can take 5 questions. So at the end, inshallah, I'm willing to do that.
Bismillah
if people don't mind staying.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hai mere Abbas, hai mere Abbas, hai mere Abbas, hai mere Abbas. जबरदा सर से चने मैं सदा देती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। जबरदा सर से चने मैं सदा देती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। आले इमरान कहान और जिंदान कहाँ, ये बहन कैद हुई, तू ना आया गाजी। जबरदा सर से चनी मैं सदा देती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। हमको पानी ना मिले तेरी खुशबू तो रहे, तेरे बाजू ना कटे चाहे मशके जाचे दे, ये मगर हो ना सका तेरे बाजू है जुदा। मुझ पे है तश ना लबी, तू ना आया गाजी। जबरदा सर से चनी मैं सदा देती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। धूप में तू था शजर, तुझसे आबाद था घर, है बरहना मेरा सर, क्या नहीं तुझको खबर। ए आलमदार वफा, इस बहन को बाखुदा, तुझसे दारस थी बरी, तू ना आया गाजी। जबरदा सर से चनी मैं सदा देती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। आ गए शाम अलम, लुट गए अहले हरम, रेत पर जलती हुई हो गया ठंडा अलम। पुरसा देने के लिए मुझसे मिलने के लिए आ गए बाबाली, तू ना आया गाजी। जबरदा सर से चनी मैं सदा देती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। क्या कहूँ शेर मेरे बेरिदा हमको लिए, ये मुसलमान सारे शहर दर शहर गए। खिलखते कूफा कभी, खिलखते शाम कभी, और है हम पे हंसी, तू ना आया गाजी। जबरदा सर से चनी मैं सदा देती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। कितनी बेबस थी बहन शहनशाह ए वफा, नाम ले ले के मेरा जब ये जालिम ने कहा, नाज था जिस पे तुझे अब बुलाओ ना उसे, और मैं रोती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। जबरदा सर से चनी मैं सदा देती रही, तू ना आया गाजी। कैद खाने में कजा जब सकीना को मिली, देखे कुर्ते का कफन बच्ची दफनाई गई उस घड़ी नाम तेरा सूरत नाद अली दुख में दोहराती रही तू ना या गाजी जबरदा सर से चनी मैं सदा देती रही तू ना या गाजी रोया रेहान कलम करके ये बात रकम खून में डूबा गया मेरे गाजी का अलम जख्मी ज़ैनब का जिगर खून फिशान शाह का सर आए खैमों में शकी तू ना या गाजी जबरदा सर से चनी मैं सदा देती रही तू ना या गाजी तू ना या गाजी तू ना या गाजी अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद
बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रही ऐसा है ये चरागा दिल डूबे जा रहे हैं क्या शाम आ गया पैसा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे हैं होने लगी अज़ाने कैसे सरों को ढांपे बाजू बंधे हुए हैं रो रही है आंखें आंखों के खून से रस्ते खून में नहा रहे हैं क्या शाम आ गया है मफ़िज़ा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे हैं सजाद का कलेजा सदपाश हो रहा है एक एक जख्म इनका इस गम में रो रहा है ज़ैनब का नाम लेकर आता बुला रहे हैं क्या शाम आ गया है मफ़िज़ा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे नेज़े पे जितने सर है एक सर है उनमें ऐसा आँखें है बंद उसकी और खाक पर है गिरता अब्बास का ये सर है तेवर बता रहे हैं क्या शाम आ गया है मफ़िज़ा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे हैं इतना चले हैं पैदल कांटों के सारे कैदी थक जाती चलते चलते चलती अगर ज़मीं भी पैरों के आबुले भी आंसू बहा रहे हैं क्या शाम आ गया है अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे हैं लोग किस तरह के हमसे दुआ कराए ऐ खैदियों दुआ दो ये दिन न हम पे आए लेकर दुआए हमसे दिल भी दुखा रहे हैं क्या शाम आ गया है अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों आ रहे हैं माँ की गोदियों से लिपटे हुए बच्चे है हाथ रस्सियों में माँ के ऐसे जकड़े बच्चे जो गिर रहे वो मरते जा रहे हैं क्या शाम आ गया है अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे हैं रेहान कैदियों में बरपा था शोर गिरिया पलकों से कर रही थी मातम जो बिन्त ज़हरा सजा दिलों में लोहा सुना रहे हैं क्या शान आ गया है अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे हैं अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे हैं अम्मा फिजा बता दे मुझको पत्थर क्यों रहे हैं
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين وسي رسول الله. السلام عليك يا فاطمة يا سيدة النساء العالمين بنت رسول الله. السلام عليك يا إمام الحسن المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا إمام الحسين سيد الشهداء. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعل الله آخر الأحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا مولانا الإنس والجان عجل الله تعالى فرجه إلهي وسهل الله مخرجه وزهورك يا مولا وصلى اللهم على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now we will be taking 5 questions for the Sheikh to answer. And I have some here in front of me. The first one is, how can we give an understanding to our kids about haram music if we live in an environment where haram music is played everywhere?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. So one of the hurdles that we face is that schools are promoting music. One of the subjects that we're taught to study in schools is actually music itself, and they'll teach kids things like the Beatles and Michael Jackson, things which are yeah, they're definitely ghina, they're definitely haram. They'll also be put into places, situations which can become a little bit awkward. You know, they'll be taken to school concerts and school parties and things like that, where that kind of music will be played. Unfortunately, that's one of the hurdles and things that we're going to have to tackle while living in the West. Now, how do we do it? There's different ways that we should do it depending on the type of children that we have. Depending on the type of children, what I've heard that some parents do is don't be afraid of pulling your child out of certain classes. One of the problems that we face is many parents are just afraid to do that. They're afraid that, oh, well, you know, I might be looked at strangely. I don't want the child to be bullied. I don't want this to happen. I don't want that to happen. No, you're the parent. Okay, you are the number one educator of your child. Okay, so that's a thing that you can do. You know, pull your child out of certain lessons that you don't agree with. You can just simply state, for religious purposes, I don't want my child to be doing that. The other thing is just to explain to the child, talk to them. One of the things that people might be surprised to hear about is that some very few scholars in the Hausa, they will actually listen to various types of music and analyze them, try to think about them. Why is this haram? Why are they using a certain lyric? Why are they using that type of tone? And you know, from lots of various different angles, they will analyze it, and for the benefit of the communities. So the point I'm getting at here is sometimes it's just about sitting down with your child and listening to what he has to say and talking to him through it, looking at various different examples. A lot of the time will be spent by kids just scrolling through random videos online. I do it. I mean, I'm sure lots of kids do it too, right? You're just scrolling through video after video after video, and it's just rubbish videos for no reason. You're just wasting time, right? Sometimes you might have to do that with your kid, you know, in order to try and bring them out of it again. So treat music in a similar way. Talk to them about it. Think about it. Yeah, I mean, to an extent, when it becomes clear for the parent that something is haram and the amount of how dangerous it really is, they will step in to stop their child from getting into haram music one way or the other. You just need to figure out how to do it.
Jazakallah. The next question is, and what about classical music that can be played in haram gatherings and passes the party test?
If it passes the party test, that means that it's not suitable for haram gatherings, which means it's halal. Look, if you're sitting in a haram gathering, right, you're sitting in a party and you start playing Beethoven, people are definitely going to be like, what is going on? This doesn't feel like a party anymore. You're killing the mood. Okay, so it passes the party test. It is halal. You've now killed the mood with that music, so it is not haram. Okay, remember what we said, the point about the 1,001 questions. It's not about the genre. Don't use that as the criteria, because some classical music may be haram. Okay, maybe some classical music could be played in a haram gathering and it would be, you know, a lahu. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Jazakallah. And The third question is, Salam, would you please repeat what is the party test? I miss listening that part.
Yeah, the brothers sent the link of the YouTube, inshallah, so you can go and watch the video there. I would say around the 15-minute mark. I think that's about right, 15-20-minute mark. You'll find it around there. But I don't want to repeat it again. But basically, just very quickly, it's you know, you're sitting in a haram gathering, you play a type of music. If it is suitable for that gathering, then that music is haram, and vice versa.
I'll ask another third question then. If we feel relaxed when we listen to the flute, then is the flute haram for us?
This is what I meant about. Do you see what, Brother Jafar? Are you seeing what I mean about the 1001 questions? The other viewers, you're seeing exactly what I mean, right? This is what we're talking about. See, this is not the criteria. Whether I feel relaxed or not is not the criteria. Never has been the criteria. Never will be the criteria. Put this criteria away. The criteria is whether it is suitable for haram gathering. Okay, that is the criteria. Nothing more than that.
And I think a sister asked this question, and she said, I'm sorry if I was wrong. I've watched Biscuit Islamic Pulse segment about haram music. The Sheikh said that something halal, like halal music played in a haram situation, is halal. I mean, the music is considered halal.
Yeah.
Only the situation is still haram. Pardon me if I'm misunderstanding it.
I am not 100% sure if I understood your question properly, but just to clarify that whole thing. So certain musics are haram and some certain musics are halal, okay? You can't take that haram music and make it halal. And you can't do the same thing with halal music. You can't take that halal music and say, oh, it's haram now because I'm using it in this way. No, that's not the way it works. Haram is haram. Halal is halal. If that didn't answer your question, if you could maybe pose it in a different way, inshallah, I'll do my best.
And someone also just asked that sometimes teachers incorporate the music in lessons while children are in school. So how can we kind of tell our children how to save themselves from music that they're kind of being forced to listen to?
Yeah, so pull your children out of those classes. You know, have the courage to go and say, look, for religious reasons, I don't want my child to be attending this class. If you can't do that, if the government has imposed it and it's completely 100% obligatory, and the Taghut has completely, taken control of your children, which unfortunately is happening in some cases, then you're just going to have to suck it up and explain to your child and hope that he or she has that maturity to deal with it. I mean, I can't think of another solution other than that. I mean, he can't exactly put his fingers in his ears the whole lesson.
Jazakallah. I think that's all of today's questions for today. And if everyone could also recite a Surah Fatiha for Ursalan, the brother who recited a Noha. His father died as a frontline doctor serving COVID-19 patients. So if we could all take a moment just to recite a Surah Fatiha, please.
Bismillah. If it's okay with you, Brother Jafar, I'd like to end with a dua.
Oh, Bismillah, please.
If everybody could raise their hands in dua, may Allah help all those who are afflicted, everybody who is afflicted by this terrible coronavirus. May Allah help us to overcome it. May Allah help us to gain a better understanding of the religion. May Allah help us to recognize the gift of the marjas, which is a beautiful gift. And if we don't recognize this blessing, then we are going to lose out. May Allah help us to reject the taghut with our minds, with our bodies, and with our souls. May Allah help us to refrain from sins. May Allah help us to recognize those who are misguiding others and those who are justifying great sins like music. May Allah help us to become the servants and the soldiers of Imam Mahdi. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah sharif. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعه وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I would like to thank all the brothers who recited, Brother Fad, Brother Salan, Brother Iftikhar Ahmed. I would also like to thank the Shaykh for making it very clear on what is halal music and what is haram music. I would like to thank everyone for attending today's lecture. And inshallah, we will all be gathered tomorrow at the same time for night 4, inshallah. May Allah help us live our lives like Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, and may He help us die on the same principles as Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And from me and all the